Hey, yo, what it do, what it do? It's your boy Q, and it's about that time we get down and do what it do. And look, I know it's getting hot outside, but also the heat's getting picked up across a couple of different esports titles. It's that time of the summer, baby. Right now, we've got the Esports World Cup kicking off. I know you might not know it's already started. There doesn't seem to be as much publicity as you would think for an esports World Cup. But not only that, we've got across a couple of different titles. I mean, we've got regional finals are already done over in APAC, both North and South for the ALGS. APAC North having a history regional final night with that match point format. We've got some more regional finals coming up this weekend. In VCT, it's playoff time. And of course, for Rocket League, we've got the Shift Summer League kicking off as well. So let's go ahead and get down and do what it do. And I think let's go ahead and get things started. Let's go ahead and get started with the Esports World Cup, man. Kind of surprising that we haven't seen much publicity about it. Unless you like follow the Esports World Cup on Twitter, it just doesn't feel like there's many like other outlets that are talking about it. Even I would say the viewership over on Twitch and even on YouTube seems to be lower than what you would expect for like a World Cup, right? Now, granted, the first two events, they were Warzone, which maybe for other regions, not quite as big of a title, but there was also League of Legends, which you would figure would have pulled some bigger viewership than some of the numbers that we were seeing. And, obviously there was all the drama surrounding the Esports World Cup and everything going on in the region. Wondering if maybe that's causing a little bit of it. It just feels like a little bit of a dropping of the ball, though. There's just no publicity. No one knows what's going on. Like, we all know what's going on at the Esports World Cup, but it's like no one knows exactly when the events are. Of course, obviously, there's the time zone differences, especially for those of us here in North America. I don't know, man. Definitely interested to know your guys' thoughts. Let me know down in the comments below. You would think for all of the hype and everything around it, both good and bad as far as the negative and positive publicity, there would still at least be more talks as far as what's going on. So maybe as we do move further into the event, obviously it's going on for about 2 months. I just figured like the kickoff week, I figured there'd be more stuff going on. I don't even know if they had like an opening ceremony. You'd feel like they did. Just feels like we're not seeing that much information. But one thing I did want to talk about kind of in terms with the Esports World Cup, and I don't want to mispronounce this name. I think it's Quidia Gaming Club program. Something that's going on over there. Basically, orgs are able to be a part of this program. We'll actually open up the article here for those of us who are able to watch over on YouTube as opposed to listening in on Spotify and stuff. But essentially, it's a city that they're wanting to put around the Riyadh city, kind of on the outskirts. You can see here the whole thought process is they're going to have, it says 12 branded theme parks, 43 sports facilities, 275 rides, an esports gaming district, and more. So 400 attractions is what they're looking for, 160,000 residential locations as well. This is all part of a program that their plan is to get done by 2030, officially announced back in 2017. The one thing I did want to talk about, though, especially because later we're going to talk about some teams that are not attending the Shift Summer, the Shift Summer League. But the program that we've got going on, the Quidia Club program, they're looking to try and get 30 organizations in wave number 1, looking for a minimum of 15 organizations as far as for wave number 1 for 2025. But basically, they're wanting to get people from all across the world, different regions. And where was the part that it says that they don't want to be, or they can't be a part of other organizations? Basically, it looks like they're going to be getting money, essentially, to be able to be over there. They actually are in location. I'll attach the article down in the bottom in the description over here on YouTube. Definitely give it a read. It's a really good article. It actually came out, came out about a week ago, right? About a week ago. Yeah. It came out actually a week ago today. Pretty good read. Definitely make sure you check it out from the esports advocate there. The big reason that I want to talk about, though, is it's talking about 15 to 30 organizations that have to live on location. Hold on. Let me see one more time real quick if I can find quickly browsing through. Yeah, so supported financially by the program, all selected clubs will be required to set up offices in a strategic partner campus by the end of 2025 and sign an initial 5-year contract, so running from 2025 to the end of 2029, with an option to extend an additional 5 years. Selected organizations will be given the founding partner status, gaining access to multiple incentive programs, and having direct input to shaping the future of the club partner program. Where is the part that's talked about? Hold on here, chat. I want to find it just because there's the portion that talks about not being able to work with other programs. Anyways, I'll get back. I'll see if I can find that, and maybe we'll throw that in there here at the end. But essentially, in there, you obviously get a bunch of. You can see if you want to pause on screen a lot of the different like benefits and stuff that you get from working with the program. But you wonder, with now seeing so much investment into esports over in the Middle East region, if it kind of changes how we see things getting worked, especially let's say in North America, where it's normally been the region that's been like the region you go to if you're trying to get money. Like we've seen teams and organizations try and bring their organizations, or bring their teams, I should say, across a couple of different titles over into the North America region. This could potentially change everything up, where now like the MENA region might be where it's all at. So kind of intrigued to see where the future of this program goes. Going to be definitely keeping an eye on it over the course of the next couple of months here. But especially you would imagine we'd be seeing more details and stuff coming out about it over the course of the Esports World Cup. But I only wanted to touch on it briefly, mostly because like the Esports World Cup is going on. It talked about how people who are probably going to be getting priority into that first wave. Also, it does say in here, I'm not going to look through. I already feel like I've taken way too much time on this. I did say, though, that people from the Esports World Cup were like going to have priority into that first wave. 2 teams from Southeast Asia, 2 teams from South Korea, 2 teams from China, 1 from Japan, 1 from Africa, 2 from the Middle East, 2 from North America. The likely candidates will be organizations that are already a part of the Esports World Cup club support program. So wave one could include all 30 of those organizations. So I think like their goal is to try and get everyone who's competing to participate as far as in the program. It's just going to be a matter as far as who accepts who accepts all of the details that go with that. You know what I mean? But yeah, we'll keep an eye on that, man. I don't want to spend too much time on it. It's just I want to touch on it real quick at the top, just because it's been something that's kind of sitting in the back of my mind. The Esports World Cup, I feel like should be getting a lot more publicity than it is. I know a lot of people are unhappy with the Esports World Cup for one reason or another, having their own feelings about it. It's just, I feel like surprisingly, even when you see like posts from the Esports World Cup and stuff over on like Twitter and things like that, it just feels like they're getting very low engagement. Kind of curious what your guys' thoughts are on that. But let's go over to the ALGS. We had 2 regionals done this past weekend, APAC South and APAC North. Actually, let's go to Liquipedia while we're talking about APAC North, because APAC North, man, they had an absolute banger, man. They had 13 game series. It feels like every time APAC North comes up, they have a banger of a match point finals. Whether it's last year they had one that was 5, and then I think they had another one that was 13 rounds. Maybe it was just 12. I'm not 100% sure, but 13 games this thing went. We went into game 13 with 16 teams on match point, which is kind of crazy. We went in actually into the final 2 games of this thing on match point. So a wild evening of Apex Legends. I've been meaning to go back and do a full dive through as far as on the VODs. I have not really gotten to see. I watched like the last 6 games of the series or something like that. I originally woke up and they were only on game like 5, and I had to go to the gym, get things done. But then I watched the end of it. Kind of crazy to think that after Reject Winity won split number 1 playoffs, they get picked up by Crazy Raccoon at the end of the split. And then because of their performance in the regional finals, they end up falling to 10th, 6 points back behind the team that ended up qualifying up in that number 9 spot. So Reject Winity not making it, Riddle Order not making it as well. Kinotrope Gaming. So that's 3 of the, what was it? Last split was 7 teams from APAC North. Is that right? That went 3 of the 7 teams that went, not going to be going back again for split number 2 playoffs, which is kind of wild if you ask me. Now we do, of course, have EMEA and NA. Oh, no, actually, I don't want to skip APAC South. See, over with the Frost podcast, I almost skipped past NA. Now I almost try to skip past APAC South here for this one. Your boy be wilding out here. Anyways, APAC South was pretty interesting because Legends Gaming had a pretty dud of a regional final, if we're being honest. Just couldn't seem to get things going. Let's go over to APAC South as far as here on the Wikipedia. This thing only went 7 games. But Legends Gaming started off with a 16th, a 20th, and then a 19th. So literally the first map putting up 4 points, and that was it. Never really able to catch things up from there. But it was Makers who last year were Tom Young Kung. Before that, I think in Split 1 might have been Iron Blood Gaming when they won. No, the Split 1 this year would have been still Tom Young Kung. But anyways, Makers is an interesting squad because I feel like when everyone talks APAC South, they either talk a couple of the Chinese teams, or not Chinese teams, but you talk like, you know, you mention teams like Dreamfire. Why isn't Dreamfire on here? Am I tripping? Dreamfire finished 12th. That's right. I'm like, holy smokes. But, you know, teams, they'll talk about teams like Dreamfire. Of course, they'll talk about Legends Gaming, of course, being at the top there. Guild most recently with their pickup with MT, right? But Makers, their roster comprised of Ziki, Asia, and Dexter. They've been playing together as a trio for quite some time. They finished second last year as far as within the region. This year, going to be finishing in second as well, 3 points behind Legends. And I feel like they're this team from APAC South that are literally like just living in the shadows. And unlike in NA, where you had last split, right? You had Moist, who was right behind Dark Zero, and everyone was like, oh man, Moist is like right there with Dark Zero. Obviously, they're not going to be able to catch up to him, but you know, how close could they finish to him in second? There was never this conversation like that about Makers, which is quite interesting. Obviously, Makers moving quite a bit up the scoreboard with the big day this time around, but they've been sitting up in contention all year round. I mean, Makers had a really good split. Again, it's a roster that has quite a bit of experience. I would really like to see them do really, really well at LAN. Again, they are one of those teams that sometimes when it comes to LAN, their play style doesn't quite translate the same in those more packed lobbies, but I feel like they, like Legends Gaming, they've been practicing more of their traditional international lobby play style. They seem to be showing a lot more discipline as well. I think Makers are going to be looking really good come LAN time. But let's keep things moving, man. We've got a couple more regional finals coming up this weekend. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to watch back the VOD on EMEA because I am going to have another casting event going on this weekend. But EMEA looks pretty good. I think the big story that I'm going to be looking for when it comes to EMEA, I'm not going to talk on things too big, but 2 teams I want to keep an eye on. One, of course, being Ninjas in Pajamas. If you've been through over on the channel before, y'all know I'm a big Nasky fan. In Nasky, we trust, baby. Kind of had this really disappointing. I shouldn't say kind of had a disappointing. Had a very disappointing performance in the Group B versus C lobby, finishing in 18th, only with 12 points. They were one of the first teams eliminated quite often throughout the course of the day. Of course, keep in mind, Passion, of course, not performing at all. They have been disbanded. So technically tied for the last spot in the lobby was Ninjas in Pajamas. So now even further away from that line of qualifying, feels like if Ninjas in Pajamas is going to take one of those 8 spots for LAN, it's basically going to be a first place finish. Even with the second place finisher, Ninjas in Pajamas would give them 21 points, would move them up to 86. Basically, you're still looking at these 4 teams needing to very much underperform in that regional finals lobby. That's a lot to ask for. So not only am I going to be watching Ninjas in Pajamas when it comes to that EMEA lobby, the other story, Exo Clan, man. Exo Clan, one of those squads that has been relatively consistent. Swinny, Slayers, Fuda, especially when you look at the duo of Swinny and Slayers. You know, you kind of figure with their experience of the 2 of them when they got together this year, was one of those teams that could potentially perform in the region. One of those teams that I think would really look good on LAN. Would love to see them go in the EMEA region. The only problem is, of course, if Ninjas in Pajamas find a way to take home the dub and take home one of those spots, that does mean that Exo Clan is going to have to finish 3 spots better than Go Next Esports. So They're going to have to make sure that they're turning up and turning out for their last lobby here of regional play for the 2024 season. Then, of course, we're going to have North America as well. We are going to be trying to do a watch party for that, depending on when my casting get done. We should be finished by 6 p.m. if I'm not mistaken, and I'm not going to pop live like in the middle of EMEA, so we'll just probably maybe watch that in Discord maybe. Of course, that's going to be down below in the description if you're over here on YouTube, right? But over at NA, it really just kind of feels like people are going to be racing. Essentially, it's going to be Oblivion, NRG, maybe Cloud9 and Board. Honestly, it just really kind of looks like it's a race between Oblivion and NRG. See if Oblivion can get 3 spots better than NRG as far as on the points wise. Obviously, also when you look at teams like Cloud9, not Moist, they do need to make sure they don't go out there and shit the bed. But as long as they get themselves, like a top 12, top 10, they should be fine. Now, I did mention at the top of things here that we do have playoffs getting started over in the VCT realm of esports, man. So when it comes to Valorant, we're coming down the home stretch. We've got one more week of Americas left, which does start next week. Or does it wrap up this week? It's wrapping up this weekend. So that means next weekend, I think, is when playoffs are. EMEA playoffs start on Monday, I do believe. And then Pacific playoffs actually just started this morning here, as far as Friday morning this week. Got to check out some of the games. Kind of surprised to see Team Secret getting upset by Talent Esports. Wasn't so much the upset that I was surprised at. It was how it went down. The first map relatively close, 11-13 over on Lotus, but really Talent Esports let Team Secret back into that thing there on the tail end. And then on Abyss as well. Kind of a similar story. I mean, in both games, it felt like Talent Esports were really able to kind of control the pace of things. Primi getting the MVP on their first performance in the VCT for Talent Esports during the playoffs. And I believe actually with that, Talent Esports locks in their spot as far as for Seoul as well. So big shout out to Talent Esports, man. Big upset. I gotta say, I was looking through the comments over on the video that I did for my pick'ems for Pacific, and I saw a lot of people talking about me jinxing Team Secret. My bad. Feel like that wasn't on me, but I do gotta say, Team Secret not quite looking like themselves. I also feel like a little bit of a Primi diff when we talk about how that one went down. And then when it came down to the Gen G RRQ game, I mean, we just basically saw two teams that were relatively close. Gen G just coming out and handling business. Charon basically doing what Charon does best and leading the charge as far as when it comes to a lot of the slaying potential for Gen G. RRQ made it close though. I said in my video it was going to be one of those games where don't be surprised where it's like 13-10, 13-9. We got a 13-11 and a 13-8. So RRQ definitely looking like they got some potential if they can continue to keep the at least core of this thing together. Maybe pick up one more piece when it comes into heading into next season. But I think RRQ, when you look at their season altogether, finishing where they did, I don't think that you can have too many complaints. Pacific's been pretty tough, especially since that it's no longer just a 2-team region. You know what I mean? But we do still have basically at this point our top 4. Now we're finally into the double elim portion of the bracket. PaperX versus Gen G on the top, DRX versus Talent Esports on the bottom. And it's interesting, in my pick'ems video, Talent Esports, where they're at, I had Team Secret winning. Honestly, I think for my picks, might just replace Talent with Secret. I think Talent still beats DRX, but then falls to the winner of PaperX and Gen G, which should be PaperX, right? You would assume, at least in the upper bracket. And then PaperX, winning over Talent Esports. So then that gives us DRX versus Gen G. Gen G still over DRX there, but DRX still gets the spot based off of points. I think I'd still take Gen G over Talent as well, which would be in that lower bracket final. Although, who knows, man? I mean, Premi looked really good today, and it's his first game on the big stage with the squad. You would imagine, getting the monkey off the back in game number 1 just might make him that much better next time we see him. I don't know, man. Talon Esports just might go on a crazy run. And imagine for Talon Esports, if they go and catch fire now, next event, is Seoul. Get yourself a nice deep run there as well and have Pacific really look dominant. PRX, Gen G, and Talon. Then DRX somehow pulls up an upset, maybe doesn't go super deep, but at least isn't one of the first teams eliminated. And Pacific really shows their dominance. I mean, there's a chance that happens, chat. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think down in those comments below. Of course, remember those comments, likes, all that stuff. That helps YouTube know that they should be putting the content in front of more people. Of course, if you're listening over on Spotify and stuff, if you haven't done a review yet, let the comment, please do so. Appreciate you. So yeah, Pacific started already. As far as their playoffs, EMEA just wrapped up their season yesterday. Yeah, yesterday. We now have our playoffs over there starting on Monday. And first off, just want to say we did talk about on the Frost Esports podcast, I talked about the possibility of Team Liquid falling. They did indeed lose their last game. Kind of makes sense. I mean, they did play against Fnatic. That's a tough draw to have. They didn't look the best in that, to be perfectly fair. I think also Fnatic starting to really kind of make the turn as far as bouncing back as well. I think EMEA could potentially be a 3-team region when you look at those top 3 teams, Team Heretics, Foot Esports, and Fnatic. Foot, for some reason, just haven't been able to perform on the international stage, though, it seems like. Maybe this is going to be the year that changes. But when we look as far as at the playoffs, Team Vitality and Na'Vi in one knockout game, Fnatic and Karmine Corp. It really hurts my heart to see Karmine Corp against Fnatic, man. I would love to see the Blue Wall at least make it into double elimination. I just don't see that happening. Oh, man, but I would really love to see it happen. Karmine Corp did beat Fnatic, though, just a couple of weeks ago. No, Karmine Corp lost to Fnatic. Right? Yeah, Karmine Corp lost to Fnatic just a couple weeks ago, which, I mean, man, Karmine Corp's been up and down all season. When you look at their matches, more down as of late, kind of more up and down in the first part. They've also had a tough draw here as of late, though, when you look at Fnatic, Team Liquid, and Vitality in the last 3. You would like to think that maybe the Blue Wall can bounce back. I just don't see it. So I think Fnatic is going to be playing against Foot Esports in that bottom bracket. I don't want to do all my pick'ems given away here because obviously I want you guys to check out that video when it drops. Maybe Friday night, maybe Saturday morning. I'm definitely going to get it out early this weekend if it doesn't get out on Friday. But I mean, I think EMEA pretty well works out the way that you would expect. It's interesting because when you look at Team Vitality and Na'Vi, essentially whoever wins here loses out probably from there, right? They lose out to Heretics and then more than likely lose out to Fnatic or Foot Esports in the lower bracket semifinals. But I do think I think this game holds more weight for Na'Vi than Vitality in the sense that if Na'Vi loses this, you have more concerns about if you should, blow apart that roster or not. Whereas Vitality, I think, has already overperformed their expectation on the year, finishing in 4th. I would love to see Vitality do well. Honestly, I was really hoping to see both Vitality and Karmine Corp do really well this split. Love the fact that they're both in the playoffs here in split number 2. Playoffs, don't lie, y'all knew it was coming at some point. But unfortunately, I just don't see either of them performing very well. I do think Vitality can take down Na'Vi. I think. I don't know. Na'Vi 2-0'd them, though. Yeah, maybe they both suffer losses in the knockout round. That would be kind of tough for me to personally have to cope with. But I mean, it's EMEA Valorant. Let's be honest. Nah, I'm kidding, chat. I love watching me some EMEA. It's been some really fun season. Definitely make sure you guys are keeping an eye out for the EMEA pick'ems coming out over here on YouTube. If you're watching this video on YouTube, it's probably dropping within the next 12 to 24 hours already. All right. Over in Americas, like I said, they do still have one more week of play left, but it's this weekend. I think actually it's literally what it starts today, starts tomorrow, starts today, starts tomorrow, starts tomorrow. Is it only tomorrow? No, it's Saturday, Sunday, Monday. And then we'll have our playoffs known then. When is playoffs? Playoffs. So first round of playoffs is next week. Ooh. So I'll definitely do an America's videos pick'ems. But I don't think we're gonna have another podcast episode until before then. So make sure you're also keeping an eye out for that early next week, chat. We'll probably try and get that video up either Monday. Well, I won't be able to do it Monday night because the last game's Monday night. So we'll probably try and get that video up. It'll be tough to get it up Tuesday. I'll try and get it up Tuesday if we can. More than likely, we'll be up on Wednesday, though, as far as for next week. But we've already got our 6 teams: Leviathan, Sentinels, G2, Cloud9, Crew Esports, and 100 Thieves. Really love to see the Crew Esports up there. Go on a run. See them up in the playoffs. Seeing them have a really strong year this year for Valorant. Otherwise, up here, I feel like a lot of teams we expected. Just would love to say, your boy called Leviathan at the beginning of the year. Didn't give Sentinels enough credit, but I did say G2 is probably going to perform pretty well. Also called Cloud9. But what happened to NRG, bro? Like, I think NRG is just one of those perfect examples like we see from time to time in esports. It's not about just getting the however many like of the best players and trying to put them together. Like, the synergy needs to work, the chemistry needs to work. Still crazy to think that Demon 1 is not only not playing for NRG right now, but none of our contenders went to like pick him up at the end of the year. I don't know if there's like a roster lock or something. Maybe someone can let me know down in the comments below. But I mean, you got NRG down there, Loud finishing in second to last when it comes to Americas is also kind of wild. Although I'm not really sure why they're below Furia. Did maybe Furia beat Loud? Probably. Is that the deal? Anyways, yeah, Furia did beat Loud. I don't know, man. I think America's playoffs is going to be really fun to watch. I think Leviathan's going to come out on top, proving your boy right. Your boy knows a little bit of everything, every title. People are going to start giving your boy some credit for the pick'ems here, man. Calling out good teams before anyone else gives them credit. Your boy's got the eye for it. Your boy's got the eye for it, baby. But yeah, so we'll also have our America's pick'ems up early next week on the YouTube. So make sure you keep an eye out for that as well. Before we get up on out of here, chat, Rocket League on a little bit of a break. We have quite a bit until Worlds comes up. But here for this little bit of downtime between the major, which was just a couple of weekends ago, and Esports World Cup, we've got the Shift League. So Shift League we have is going to be really cool. It's actually bringing back like pool play, bringing back league play. So it's no longer just a bracket tournament every weekend. So ahead of time, you already know who your opponents is going to be. There's going to be 6 days of league play. Looks like there's going to be 3 different rounds. So you play 3 games each day. Should be a lot of fun to watch, man. Over in North America, a lot of the teams that you would expect to see have been invited as well as qualified. As far as your invited teams, G2, Gen G, Space Station Gaming, OG, RMC, which is Reynolds Magic Cheese. You got Shopify Rebellion, Pirates on a Boat, as well as Fun, which is Talk, Nitrous, and T. Carell. That's one of your play-in teams. You got Dignitas, which is a play-in team, and Incorrect as well. So that's going to be your 10 squads over in Americas. Over in EU, though, you're going to notice that the teams list missing a few notable names here. So our 10 teams that are playing over in Europe for the Shift Summer League, Oxygen Esports, Luna Galaxy, and Complexity together. Jobless, Grid Serve Resolve, JJ Rocks, Endpoint CEX, is it Sadad? I think is how it's pronounced. 100%, Espartaco, and Fake GA. I know there's probably quite a few people who are like, bro, where are the other teams? Where are the usual teams, right? Yeah, that's a good question, right? And hold on, let me take care of this real quick so it'll stop popping up in the corner. But it's like, that's a good question, right? So there's been this topic that's been brought up that especially when it comes to the French organizations right now, the orgs are not participating in these because essentially it's not worth the investment, is the big sounds of it. But it doesn't sound so much as about the investment. It's just that they're not getting paid essentially an appearance fee to go to like a smaller event. I was listening to the Chalkcast episode and they had Farah on over there, the coach for Carmine Corp. And listening into that kind of like the conversation, I guess his perception of the organization side, right, is that they have to feel like they are getting some value brought to them and they aren't the only ones bringing the value to the organization that is doing what, and usually it's a tournament. This case, I think you can still call it a tournament, although it is like the league play, right? But when you think about even RLCS like events, and then you like think about the watch parties that like a Kometo does, or you know, like when you think about just, I mean, honestly, the peak four, BDS, Gentlemates, Vitality, and Carmine Corp, they're pulling all their own watch party. They've built their own brand. They are essentially adding more to the league than the league is adding to them. I feel like it's like a read the room scenario. You know what I mean? I feel like if the industry was in a place where it felt like that there was more money to be able to get out of the tournament organizers and stuff like that, because there was plenty of the money getting thrown around, then maybe I understand that. But doing this during an esports winter, I'm not sure I can really get down with that. You know what I'm saying? Especially when you do look at some of these teams, like a Carmine Corp, right? Like they are also essentially helping build their brand, not only in by participating, but then they have more content, which I think would also help them recoup some more of those expenses as well, right? And yeah, you got to think about the fact that, you know, they have to pay for the social media coverage and stuff like that, which is definitely something that I didn't initially think about, right? Like having someone going to the event as well to maybe do photos and videos and doing content built around that. Like that is obviously an extra expense as well. I don't know though, man. I just feel like when you look at where esports is at, I don't know if holding out from, especially because this is like, it's only a month, right? It's 6 days. I just feel like it's not like this is a $500 prize pool tournament, right? That's held at like 9 p.m. in the evening, where like you probably don't want the big dog showing up to anyways. Like this is a pretty big event for Shift League in the summer. And when you just look at the pool of talent from EU and then going over to the North American Shift League, it's night and day. And it really is just down to the fact that you're missing the big four over in Europe. Interesting to see all of them band together and do it as well. It's not like you're only missing a couple of them and then the other ones kind of deciding to still opt in as well. I mean, it's not chump change, right? 9K if you win top spot. And again, thinking about the fact that you should be able to build content and stuff around it as well. I just don't know if I can get with the concept of sitting it out right now. I guess maybe I'd had to look at the organizations like other like schedule. Like obviously Carmine Corp's involved in quite a bit. We just mentioned them as far as their Valorant team, but you probably only need coverage for them for one day, right? Like not meaning to be that guy. I don't know, man. Definitely interested to know your guys' thoughts. Let me know down those comments below. I feel like when I look at how my schedule works out, I know I'm gonna be watching probably a lot more EU than NA, because I know NA is gonna run late. Although we are gonna probably do some watch parties, so maybe we are gonna be staying up. I don't know. We'll keep an eye out on that, right? Also depends on how they land as far as during the week with my other casting, because I think one of the days is the day that I usually do Stride as far as for their weekly. So we'll kind of have to keep an eye out on that. But let me know who you guys think is going to win this thing. I'm excited to see if there are any teams that really like overperform with the fact that you can kind of scout out your matchup a little bit in advance. Like does that maybe take a team like Pirates on a boat, right? Does that maybe take them up to the next level where they can, or maybe not so much them, but maybe when you do look at a team like OG who has the experience with Nolly Com and JNAPS, right? Now all of a sudden they can start game planning for their opponent, even though it is a couple of them a weekend ahead. Like, does that give them a bigger advantage where now all of a sudden like OG not only does good against like the normal opponents you expect them to do well against, but even against maybe a G2 or a Gen G. So we'll definitely be keeping an eye out onto that. I did want to pose a question to you guys at the end of this thing when we're talking about RLCS. And that is with the more recent like run of success that we're seeing from NA. If you guys think that might mean that it's going to cause like a little bit of a delay when it comes to the introduction of younger talent in North America. Because we did, of course, see going into this most recent season that it was a lot more of the newer players playing with the newer players instead of them kind of, mixing in with some of the OGs. I wonder with now seeing some success, especially on the international stage, if some of those players who did decide to play with the OGs, thinking that that experience gap might make the difference to be on a team that could potentially play against the best of the best in the world, if that causes more teams to kind of go about that route. Looking at players like Wavy, who seem to have been able to make a really big name for themselves going into this year, getting picked up with the roster from TSM, and TSM even having one really good performance as well as quite a couple of other performances over the course of the season that were, I would say, what people were expecting by the time that they got picked up from TSM, right? So just kind of curious what you guys think. Do you think that the NA success is going to delay as far as like the growth and the emergence, more so the emergence, maybe not so much the growth. Growth might not be the best word there, but the emergence of younger talent here in NA. I already know I'm past that 30-minute mark. I'm trying to start doing these things more still around that maybe 45 minutes is the sweet spot, 45, 50-minute mark, somewhere right around there. But your boy still got himself a relatively busy weekend, right? I was trying to think. I feel like I got something Saturday. I know I've got a street fair here in town that we're going to be going to with the Fam Bam, as well as doing a couple of other things during the day. I feel like there's something going on Saturday night. If not, maybe we'll get some gaming in or something with the community. Sunday, we've got casting during the day. We're going to have watch party for North American ALGS Regional Final Match Point. Make sure y'all are showing up for that. Also, make sure you guys are keeping an eye out for long form content over here on the YouTube, man. The Pick'ems video for Pacific popped off. Y'all can keep an eye out for the EMEA video, which should be dropping here probably in the next 24 hours from the time that I drop this video here as well. And of course, if you made it this far in this video, remember every like, comment, share, those things tell YouTube to share this content in front of more people. Really helps your boy out. And when you see the shorts that are from the podcast, I know y'all have already watched the whole podcast, but let those shorts play through and then leave a like and a comment on those as well. That way we can try and continue to grow this thing out and get more people tuning in for weekly esports content, whether it's the podcast or more of the content here over on YouTube, especially as we're chasing down that first 1,000 subscribers. Officially hit that 450 mark here over the course of this last week. Appreciate each and every one of y'all. Until we get y'all back over here for the next one, man, don't forget, with everything crazy going on in the world today, be true, be you, be sincere, game hard and love hard, all right, y'all? It's your boy Q, signing out.